And the big conversation coming out of this past game was A.J. Brown reading his book on the sideline. Still that, right? And how Jalen Hurts says, I've never really seen him read a book. And A.J. Brown says, no, I've been reading this book. I read books. And we're breaking news right here. We have a photograph of this moment of Rich Eisen Show exclusive. There he is reading Father of Mine on the sideline. That's wild. Mike Florio, he must have picked it up. Mike?
That's right. Well, I'll take the sequel with me on Sunday when we're there for the Eagles-Rams game.
Wait a minute.
They're calling for snow now, too.
Hold on a second. Brockman is now inspired by A.J. Brown. There he is. Okay.
Well done.
What's going on? Did I miss something?
That's good. And I don't doubt that the guy reads between drives every game. I don't doubt it at all. It's just amazing no one's ever noticed it before.
Yeah.
That's the part I couldn't believe.
I know.
No one's seen it.
Can you imagine? And then Fox picks it up with the whole country watching in the middle of a playoff game. Eagles-Packers, the beachfront property of late window on a Sunday of wild card weekend. It's kind of wild. That we figured it's a fun way to bring you into the conversation, Mike Florio here.
Well
and by the way, I'm happy to send you that mock-up. You can do with it what you wish. Although, wait a minute, I'm being told that is real. That's A.J. Brown reading Mike Florio's books.
The Amazon sales have not reflected that the way that they did for Inner Excellence.
Oh my gosh. Let's jump into the news everybody's talking about today. Our colleague Ed Werder from way back in the day, mine at SportsCenter, saying that Deion Sanders, forget about it, just an overture from Jerry, he would accept it if offered the job. What are you hearing about what's going on with Deion and Jerry Jones, Mike?
This all started as what seemed to be a well-timed publicity stunt with the word of Deion and Jerry coming out during the Rams-Vikings playoff game on Monday night. Nice way to upstage a playoff game, and Jerry would love to upstage anything he can, and it creates maximum interest and attention. And, when you look at the alternatives, he could do a lot worse. There's a lot of names out there. DraftKings has the odds, and there are like 60 names, and some of them are like randomly generated. I'm not even sure they're real people. Deion Sanders is one that makes sense if he's willing to submit to the fact that Jerry runs the show, that Jerry is going to shop for the groceries and expect him to cook the meal, that Jerry's going to do 2 radio interviews every week and create headlines that way, and that he's going to have a scrum after each game that might take away from Deion's post-game press conference. Those are all things that you have to deal with if you're going to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And, it's weird, Rich, because he said on your show, Deion did, during the 2023 season when he's taking college football by storm, I will never coach in the NFL. I would never do that. And it's just amazing to me how words mean nothing, because here we are, just one season later, and he's ready and willing to take the Cowboys job, was interested in the Raiders job. And just a few weeks ago, he said he'd only want to coach his sons. He ain't going to have his sons, as you were saying earlier, in Dallas. So I think he's in play. I think he's been in play. And I think he'd be a good NFL head coach.
Is Belichick in play, in your estimation?
Well, I think he'd like to be in play, but I don't think anybody wants him. I think he'd like to get a call. I think that all we have to do is look at his contract. Don't pay attention to words. Pay attention to actions. The action of a contract that if and when it's ever signed, will have a $10 million buyout, which is nothing for an NFL owner. $10 million is nothing. It's pocket change for an NFL owner if you want to go get Bill Belichick. The buyout drops to $1 million on June 1. And then Jonathan Jones of CBS drops the nugget today that the contract isn't even signed yet. And the term sheet that he signed says at the very top, this is not a binding agreement. The guy can walk away. He's an at-will employee without a contract. You're an at-will employee. They can tell you to leave anytime they want. You can leave anytime you want. It's amazing to me. And I can understand why guys like Mike Lombardi, persecution complex, woe is us, they're trying to hurt our recruiting. Bull crap. Almost said the other word. Yes. Bull crap. Sign the contract. Hey, Mike, Mike was taking shots at me earlier, but he didn't mention my name. I'll mention his name. Hey, Lombo. Tell your guy to sign his freaking contract if you want to put this to bed. It's the easiest way to do it. And better yet, take out the buyout. Take out the buyout and he can't leave. All right, I feel better now. Thank you.
Mike Florio getting stuff off his
Therapeutic
chest
reading a
here.
book between drives.
You
But it's
know,
ridiculous. You can't question anyone without being accused of not liking them. How have we gotten to this point in the world where it's impossible to offer fair criticism, fair commentary, fair analysis without instantly being accused of you don't like me? Come on, man, grow up.
Pro Football Talks, Mike Florio here on the Rich Eisen Show. What do you think the Vikings plan moving forward is going to be? Because that's the biggest, I imagine, free agent domino right now, right? Would be what Sam Darnold is going to do because other teams might offer. I mean, we had, our colleague from Pittsburgh, Jerry Dulac, come on today and say, when I asked him, who do you think crystal ball at first week quarterback for the Steelers is going to be? He mentioned Justin Fields. And I said, what about not in the building? And he said Sam Darnold would be an option. So the question is would he even be available? What do you think the Vikings are thinking first blush after their season-ending loss, Mike?
Rich, it's amazing what a difference 8 days makes.
No doubt.
Sam Darnold riding high before kickoff of the Week 18 game in Detroit against the Lions, and the moment got to him. He started throwing helium balloons in the red zone. They could have won that game. They should have won that game. And then he didn't recover from it before the playoff game the following Monday night. He lost a lot of money in 8 days. And does that mean he stays in Minnesota? Do they turn the page to J.J. McCarthy? I think they're going to be more inclined to after what they saw, because you can't just ignore the fact, we got 14 wins with Sam Darnold, but also when it was time to go play in the playoffs, he didn't deliver. Now, the other issue in Minnesota, when you mentioned free agent, I thought you were going, even though he's a year away from it, the head coach, Kevin O'Connell's got 1 year left on his contract. And when our friend Jay Glazer dropped that bomb, the Sunday Splash Report, Week 18, that multiple teams are interested in trading for O'Connell. If they can't work out a deal, and the Wilf family is looking at, on one hand, 1 more year with Kevin O'Connell before he walks away wherever he wants to go, or trade him now if he's willing to be traded and if there's a team that wants to trade for him, it does make sense. It does make sense to get something now if he's got 1 more year and he's going to walk away anyway, and that's all premised on them not working out an extension with O'Connell, but that needs to be first order of business. That's the domino that needs to fall before any of the others do.
So what do you think they do at court? I guess they got to handle that first before they got
to figure out what's happening. Yeah, look, you know Jay well. Jay's not going to throw something out there that isn't well supported, unlike I would. Jay's going to be buttoned up, and Jay's going to chase down, rabbit holes that have rabbits at the bottom. This idea of multiple teams being interested in trading for O'Connell, it's rooted in tension in the relationship between O'Connell and the Vikings, tracing back to the reality that they didn't give him a contract after 2 years. They made him coach 1 more year before they were ready to talk extension, and they love him and they want to keep him, and that's fine, but it's still possible they reach an impasse between what the Wilfs will pay and what O'Connell wants. And if that's the case, you got to ask yourself, what are we going to do? Are we really going to go forward with a lame duck coach? Now, other teams have done it. Cowboys did it with Mike McCarthy. Or are we going to answer the call from one of these other teams that's looking for a coach that might want to trade for him? I just think that is the first order of business for the Vikings before anything else can be figured out. And they need to get that figured out as soon as possible. Mike
Florio of NBC. You will see Mike and the cast of thousands in advance of the divisional playoff kickoff on Sunday, Philadelphia and the Rams. What interests you? I'll just give you the floor. What interests you out of these 4 playoff games the most, Mike Florio?
Fascinated by the Commanders, their ability to keep games close and win close games. It's the biggest spread of the week, 9.5 points. The Lions are rested. The Lions will be ready. The Lions feel like it's their destiny to get to the Super Bowl and win it. These Commanders are playing with house money. These Commanders are loose. Jaden Daniels, a quarterback, unaffected by anything, poised, doesn't force his talents. 17-play, 92-yard drive, takes what's there, works the offense down the field, keeps the opposing quarterback on the sideline drinking Gatorade. They can keep it close. They kept it close, and they stole it from the Buccaneers. They could keep it close and perhaps steal it from the Detroit Lions. And then obviously Ravens-Bills. I hope game of the year delivers, because how many times have we been saying game of the year, and by halftime it's game over. During the regular season, it was game over early when the Ravens won 35-10. But I think the Bills are different now, and they're at home, and they I feel bad for the quarterback that loses this game. Whoever it is going to be saddled with the can't win the big one. Well, somebody's got to lose this one, and that's not an indictment on the quarterback. There's a lot of great teams in the AFC, and one of the reasons Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson haven't won the big one is there's a guy named Patrick Mahomes who's constantly standing in their way.
That's right. It could be just, your what, Karl Malone or Clyde Drexler or Hakeem Olajuwon in the Jordan era, right? And or name a professional player in the Tiger era who chose the wrong time too. It could be one of those things. We could be witnessing history over the next month. We are potentially a month away from the first ever three-peat, Mike. And every single time we talk about, hey, let's change this coach, let's change this general manager, who's going to be drafted first overall, it turns out to be over the last 3 years potentially rearranging of deck chairs, man. It's unreal what we're potentially witnessing.
And how much longer is it going to last? That's the thing, too. Patrick Mahomes is entering the front end of his prime. He's not 30 yet. He's become the combination of physically gifted beyond all others and supercomputer of pre-snap looks and movement and patterns and decisions, and he's only going to get better. He said a couple of years ago he wants to get to that point where Tom Brady was, where he walks up to the line and he knows exactly what's going to happen, like Neo when he finally becomes the one. And I think Mahomes over the past couple of years, even though his numbers this year weren't spectacular and he wasn't in the MVP race and wasn't first or second team All-Pro, he still gets it done when it needs to be done. There's no greater clutch quarterback in the NFL right now than him. And I feel bad for the Texans because they'll probably keep it close, but when it's time to go out and take the game, this is nothing against the Texans. This isn't a Rex Ryan bit. How anybody put any team on that field on Sunday against the Chiefs, and how do you not believe that the Chiefs are going to find a way, some way, somehow to win the game?
I love it. And your game, your 2 cents on your game? What do you think?
Well, hey, look, what the Rams did last week, considering everything that they and the community have dealt with, to relocate to Arizona, and then through all of that, to put together a defensive game plan that was able to crack the code on everything Kevin O'Connell and Sam Darnold have done all year long. Now, Sean McVay knows O'Connell because they worked together. They won a Super Bowl together in LA. When we get to the playoffs, Rich, it's incumbent on the coaching staff of all teams, if they want to advance, you better, number one, find a way to get ahead of what your opponent has been doing all season long. And number two, you better take a long, hard look at what you've done. And you better make sure that they aren't cracking your code. You may need to zig because they think based on the last 17 games of zagging, this is what you're going to do. It's a time for full awareness of all you've done, all they've done, and creativity on how to stay ahead of the opposing coaching staff. And, kudos to the Rams. Now, the Rams also, they just were fresher and they were motivated and they just came out and kicked the Vikings' butts. But credit to the Rams coaching staff for making the time to come up with a masterful game plan on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I guess it's, this just in, stopping Saquon. That they couldn't do it the last time they played, which was on, I believe it was on NBC. I think that was a Sunday nighter, or was it a Monday night? They all blend together right now.
Hey, Rich, I'd like to tell you the correct answer, but I can't remember either at this point.
It was it was a Sunday night where Saquon, ran for almost 300 yards, Mike. He's still running, I think.
When you won the regular season matchup doing things a certain way, do you do it again because it worked the last time? Or, and this gets to what I was talking about earlier, do you come up with something else? Because now they're going to be ready for you. And now they're going to make adjustments to try to deal with the thing that you did to them the last time. This becomes the 4D chess match that coaching staffs have to ask. And you better guess right, and you only get one chance. No best of 7, no best of 5, no best of 3. One game, 60 minutes. Let's go see who's able to figure out how to score more points. And look, I expect the Eagles are just physically better than most teams currently left. But the Rams have written a great story so far, and I think they'll show up with everything they have. You just wonder how much they have left after what they've been through.
All 3 novels of Mike Florio's could be found on Amazon, 99 cents in ebook. Check them all out right now, certainly since they can be acquired as such. Before I let you go, Mike, what's the one last surprise? Is there one more in this coaching carousel? Somebody that we're not talking about does get hired. Somebody that we're not talking about does somehow lose a gig this late stage.
Name, as it should, has popped up. I know someone who's connected to the dynamics of the Cowboys who believes that Jason Witten will be the coach of that team someday. Maybe not today, but someday. So his name's out there. So that really wouldn't be a surprise if it happens. I'm not commenting when I say this on whether or not Todd Bowles should still be the Buccaneers coach. I think he should be. But when you look at some of the decisions that ownership of that team have made over the past 16 years, starting with John Gruden, one day he's there and then he's gone, and Raheem Morris is the coach just like that. And then Morris is gone, and who are they going to hire? All of a sudden it's Greg Schiano. Who? Why? What? And then they have Lovie Smith and Dirk Cutter as the offensive coordinator. Things are going well with Jameis Winston. And then boom, Lovie's out. And Dirk Cutter gets promoted because they apparently were concerned somebody else was going to hire Cutter to be the head coach. And then in late March, after he goes to the ownership meetings, Bruce Arians retires and Todd Bowles takes over. So there's been some weird stuff with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've been successful. They have a Super Bowl. They've got 2 in the last 25 years. They have 4 straight division titles, but they've done some weird things. So that's one that I'm just kind of like, like when you see the dog that you're not quite sure is going to bite you, you just kind of keep your eye. Like, I'm watching you, dog. I'm watching you, Buccaneers, because we know you've bitten before.
Is that a Gruden spot? Is that a possible?
No, I think it's a Belichick spot if it opens up.
Wow.
Lombardi was trying to spread the rumor that Bowles was going to retire during the season. Nobody heard that Bowles was going to retire, but Bruce Arians retired. So we'll see.
See, note to Lombo, don't mess with Mike Florio.
Hey, Rich, you're a little younger than me. You get to a certain age where you no longer care about anything. No grudges. Just keep working. Just be glad. And I don't know if you saw the video of me falling on the ice when I got home the other day. I'm just glad I'm alive right now.
Dude.
I'm glad to be working. I'm glad to be alive. And I'm glad to have my books available in ebook form on Amazon for only 99 cents. 99 cents. Well, you can't buy anything for 99 cents. You can buy the ebooks. Father of mine, son of mine, on our way home. Thank you.
I appreciate the promotion right there. And plus, you're young at heart. You don't look old at all. And is that your Lego you're working on behind your right shoulder?
That's the Ghostbusters. That's the Ghostbusters firehouse, which worked out perfectly. My little nephew was here at Christmas time, and he's into Ghostbusters.
Oh.
So he was all over that thing, and I thought about, can you just take it with you? It's been sitting there. Like, you build these things for, like, sanity and balance,
right.
And then what do I do with it? Like, where do I put this thing? And my wife doesn't want it anywhere but in here. Like, hey, can we put this out? No. Keep it in there. So anybody want a Ghostbuster firehouse? It'll cost more than 99 cents, but I'll give you a good deal.
Some do Lego for mindfulness. Others read during NFL playoff games. Mike Florio, greatly appreciate it. Thanks again, brother.
Thanks. See you.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen. All 3 novels available on Amazon right now for 99 cents in ebook. Our friend Mike Florio right there. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.